It doesn't matter how old you are. Sometimes all you need is your favorite Disney movie and a lot of blankets and pillows. A Disney movie never gets old, especially when you realize that after all these years, there's still Easter eggs and conspiracy theories to find. So let's take a look at the top 10 Disney conspiracies. Number 10. The reason all the cars in Cars have different accents. Why there are no humans. With cars being cars and all, have you ever wondered why they all have very distinct accents? If they're basically just machines, why do they have accents as well? Well, creative director Jay Ward resolved that mystery by explaining that the cars simply get the voice of the last person who drove them, or rather, the entire personalities of the last humans that drove them. So what happened to all those humans? Because we don't see any humans at all in the movies. Apparently, the cars got rid of humans. When they no longer saw a point in having humans around, they simply murdered them all and now enjoy full ownership of Earth. And now, they'll have the voices of those humans for the rest of their existence. Great! Number 9. Mother Gothel is Snow White's evil queen. It's hard to truly get rid of evil. They always have a sneaky way out that no one saw coming, and before you know it, they're messing with our favorite characters. Again, did we really believe the evil queen of Snow White would die that easily? An evil queen that we know is obsessed with beauty and age, which sounds a lot like Mother Gothel, doesn't it? They also look a lot alike. Fans are convinced that the evil queen faked her own death and isn't heard from again until we find her yet again messing with the life of a young girl and using her magical hair to stay young. Still just as obsessed with her looks as she ever was. Both end up looking like an old witch by the end of the movies, and their weapon of choice is toxic love. That's a little too much of a coincidence if you ask us. Number 8. Prince Charming is actually Prince Death. This one might be a little hard to swallow, because who doesn't like Prince Charming? He's Prince Charming, but there's a theory that the prince from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs isn't all that charming after all. Some say he is actually death personified. When Snow White first meets this prince when she's hanging out by the well, she's terrified of him. Maybe that's because she saw him for what he really is, and that's why he becomes the only person in the world who can get her out of the limbo that eating from the poisoned apple puts her in. But instead of waking her up to get married, she gets up because she's ready to go to the afterlife. Even the horse they ride on would make sense, as it relates to the pale horse in the Book of Revelations. Maybe all her loved ones had to accept her death before she could let go of life, and that's what Snow White is really about. Number 7. Carl was dead all along. It's not like Up can do any more emotional damage to anyone after watching the first few opening minutes of that movie. Arguably the most heartbreaking piece of animation ever made, but maybe not the only heartbreaking thing about that movie. There are people who say Carl was dead the moment the movie started, and his trip to Paradise Falls is his journey to the afterlife. Looking at the story like this, Russell is an angel trying to earn his wings by successfully guiding Carl to the afterlife, which would make Charles Muntz a fallen angel who is hell-bent on dragging Carl down to the underworld with him with the use of his hounds. Makes sense, right? At least the same amount of sense as a house that can fly with the help of balloons. Number 6. Peter Pan is the angel of death. Peter Pan and his lost boys never want to grow up, right? Well, what if it doesn't matter whether they want to or not, because they never had a choice in the matter? What if they can't grow up, because they're all dead, and Neverland is some sort of afterlife? When he was 6 years old, J.M. Barrie, the author of the original Peter Pan books, his older brother David died one day before his 14th birthday. David had also been his mother's favorite, and the rest of Barrie's life revolved around him trying to fill the void that his brother had left behind. Apparently, his mother had found comfort in the thought that her favorite would never grow old and stay with her forever. Knowing that bit of history about the author, it's a little hard to deny the probability that Barrie found his greatest inspiration in the death of his older brother. Kind of kills the fun vibes they had going on in Neverland. Stay tuned, because we still have a lot more conspiracy theories to go through. Do you know who may have killed Ariel's mother, or whose ship she finds at the bottom of the ocean? And there might be more ties to Tarzan than any of us could have thought possible. Answers to all these questions and more in the next part of this video. Number 5. Captain Hook murdered Ariel's mom. In The Little Mermaid, we never get to meet Ariel's mother, Athena, but in Ariel's beginning, we learn that she was killed by a pirate ship. Pirates are a very important part of the Peter Pan story, which also features mermaids. They don't really have that much to do with the story, maybe they sure are part of the bigger picture. At a glance, you realize they must at least be relatives of Ariel's. But the one with red hair might also be Ariel's mother. The mermaids aren't exactly a fan of Captain Hook. What if Ariel's mom was killed by no other than Captain Hook? If this one's true, it's a conspiracy that was 30 years in the making, which would be very impressive. Number 4. Ariel's exploration in the ship is actually the ship of the King and Queen of Arendelle. It is thought that the ship that Ariel discovers is actually the ship that was on its way to bring the King and Queen of Arendelle to a wedding. Some say they were on their way to Rapunzel's wedding, but that's a different conspiracy theory. The point is, everyone knows that the parents of Elsa and Anna were last seen on a ship, and that ship didn't make it. What if that's the ship we see Ariel almost get devoured by a shark in? It's very probable that it is, and makes the scene a lot more depressing than it already was. Number 3. Tarzan is the brother of Elsa and Anna. Talking about Tarzan, remember how we even got to be in that jungle in the first place? Shipwrecked parents who got tragically eaten by a leopard? Yes, word has been going around that Tarzan's parents were, in fact, the King and Queen of Arendelle. Chris Buck, the co-director of Frozen, gave several things away during a Reddit Q&A. First, he revealed that Elsa and Anna's parents might have had a son as well. He also said that the King and Queen and newborn baby boy, that no one even knew about, did not die in the wreck, but washed up on the shore of a deserted island, where they proceeded to build a treehouse and got eaten by a leopard. Now, Buck may have been joking, but the story fits a little too perfectly for fans to completely disregard it. Number 2. Jane from Tarzan is a descendant of Belle of Beauty and the Beast. One of the most popular fan conspiracy theories is that Jane from Tarzan is actually the great-great-great-granddaughter of Belle from Beauty and the Beast. When looking at the two, the similarities are maddeningly obvious, especially if you compare them when they're both wearing their beautiful yellow dresses. They both have odd fathers, not to mention how they're both quite capable of dealing with wild men. And how else would Jane have come into the possession of the iconic china set? One of the cups even has the same chip out of it. Only a descendant of Belle could have gotten it, an heirloom that has been passed down the generations until it makes a cameo all the way in the jungle. Number 1. Boo is the witch in Brave. This theory is part of the Pixar theory, which says that all Pixar movies take place in the same universe. It's a little complicated, but once you've got a good firm grip on it, it's not easy to let go. Everyone loves Boo from Monsters Inc. and it broke our hearts when we had to say goodbye to her. But did you ever realize that it might have broken her heart too? Boo grows up to become obsessed with finding Sully again, and she probably remembered a thing or two about traveling through doors. But though she learns how to use the doors, she can't control which timeline she ends up in. The witch in Brave also has the uncanny ability to disappear whenever she goes through a doorway. Did you ever notice the carvings in the witch's workshop? They look an awful lot like Sully. The Pixar theory also suggests that the witch is the one who gives animals and other creatures the ability to talk. And it may all be because she's Boo, trying to find her way back to Sully. And that was it, the top 10 Disney conspiracies. What is your favorite and your least favorite theory about the Disney movies? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.